Hey everybody, welcome back to homerecordingmadeeasy.com and here on my YouTube channel. And this week we're going to take a look at another channel strip by Waves. This is the HLS Kramer channel strip. This was made famous at Olympic Studios in the late 1960s, and a lot of famous bands recorded through the Helios console, including the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, etc., etc., and famously used by Eddie Kramer, famous recording and mixing engineer. So we're going to take a look at that, some sound samples, and kind of walk you through the plugin. But before we get to that, if you do me a favor, if you like what you see in this video, hit that subscribe button. Also, go out to facebook.com/homerecordingmadeeasy and follow me there, as I'm always putting videos on Facebook and content that may not necessarily be a part of this YouTube channel. And for more tips, tricks, concepts, and training around all aspects of home recording, mixing, and mastering, as always, go out to homerecordingmadeeasy.com. Check out the Quick Mix series as well as the Made Easy series. They are long form video training tutorials that will help you make better music in your home studio. I promise you that. So let's take a look over here at this at the Helios channel strip EQ. A lot of people think of this as just an EQ, but it's actually the channel strip, which also models the preamp. And this is laid out a little bit differently and acts and behaves a little differently than your typical EQ. And that's what makes this unique and has its own unique sound characteristics. So let's take a look at this. So if you look at the top left-hand corner in the silver part here, we have a mic and a line toggle switch here to model the sound of the mic and line inputs of the input side preamp of the console. We have this preamp dial next to this, which doesn't add any volume as you turn this up from 20 to 60 to 70. It just adds more noise and more harmonic distortion and some coloration. And if you were to, in a second, I'll turn all these on and you'll be able to hear the hiss of the plugin. So the more you turn this up, the more harmonic distortion you're going to get, a little more vibe you're going to get, a little more character, quite a bit more noise, and that might be desirable or not very desirable depending on what you're looking for, but it will not increase the volume. So they're very subtle differences, so keep that in mind. Underneath here we have a 10K. This knob here is a 10K shelf that you can go up. It's a step 4, 8, and 12 dB boost, or a 4, 8, 12 dB, 16 dB cut. So you can cut by 16 excuse me, dB, but you can boost by 12 dB at 10K. It's shelf. Down here we have this knob here, this mid-frequency boost knob. This is a boost knob only. For this frequency selector here from 700 to 6K, for example, this is set at 1K, and you can plus this 15 or boost this 15 dB, or at 0 it is it is flat. There is no cut here. It's just plus 15 dB. Unless, however, you flip this toggle switch here, this peak and TR trans toggle switch. PK means peak boost, TR means cut. So if you have this set at 1K, which we do, you can cut this by 15 dB, or you can boost it by 15 dB, and it's variable, as you can see here. So this toggle switch, this frequency selector, and this boost or cut knob, depending on how you're using the toggle switch, work together. Down below that, we have another boost slash cut variable by plus or minus, or excuse me, this is just a boost, excuse me. This is just a boost. You can see the little plus here. This is only a boost by 15 dB, and that goes along with this frequency selector here. Now, what makes this a little unique is you see here in the center where it says 0, everything above the 0 is a frequency range. So this is 60 hertz, 120, 250 hertz, 400 hertz, and you could only boost this up to 15 dB. Anything below the 0, excuse me, is the amount of dB that you're cutting at 50 hertz. You can see that right here. So for example, if this was set here, this is minus cutting by 3 dB at 50 hertz. This will cut 6 dB at 50 hertz, 9 dB at 50 hertz, etc., etc. So this can either boost 60, 120, 250, 400, or it can cut 50 hertz by this value down below here, okay? Makes it a little bit confusing, but you get used to it pretty quickly. This will turn the EQ on and off here, and this is just kind of a polarity phase reverse. Up over here on the black section, we have our VU meter here. We have the way we want to meter the input or the output with this toggle switch here. We have a noise we can have on low, or we can have the noise as the original noise level coming from the console or the emulation of the console, depending on how you're boosting and cutting. Mostly boosting is where you're going to hear more noise, or if it's too much noise for you, you can always turn it to low. We also have the analog 50 and 60 hertz kind of hum and noise that's in most of the Waves plugins. It's very, very subtle. You probably won't even hear it over YouTube. And then we have our input here. We can drive the console harder, and then we get the output here that we can compensate for it. So if we boost, turn up the input by 3 dB, we could always turn it down here, the output, to kind of level match the plugin. Also, what's great about Waves, they have a lot of great presets here that kind of get you in the ballpark to get you sounding good depending on what you're putting it on. So it's a fairly simple but a little bit different than what you might be used to as far as a channel strip goes, and that's why I like it. I'm a big channel strip guy. I have lots of channel strips by many different plugin manufacturers, and they all have their different subtleties. They're all, the workings and the way they're laid out are all slightly different, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to wrap your head around it, but once you get to use it, it becomes really easy. And this, like all the other kind of channel strips that are out there, have their own different sound characteristics, because all of these consoles, all of these EQs, and all of this analog gear had its own different kind of sound. Right? Makes sense? So what I've done here, we're going to look at this only on two sound sources here. We're going to look at it, listen to it on drums and on bass. So basically what I've done here is over here, down here in brown, we have all of our drum tracks. We have kick sub, snare, top and bottom, toms 1 and 2, overheads left and right. We're only going to listen to those sources. All these other room mics we're just going to turn down for now. They just kind of get in the way and they don't sound as good. Now this is a raw recording. No other processing has been done to this. I feel this is the best way to demonstrate some of these plugins, because it's not a final mix sounding. We have a bunch of other processing. You can really just hear what this does to a raw track, okay? So although it doesn't sound great from a mix perspective, you can kind of get a feel in a better audible sense of what the plugin is doing to the tracks. And then we also, next to the drums, have in blue here, have a bass, which we put the Kramer HLS on the bass as well. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play back this little section of music. And all I'm going to do before we kind of dive into the plugin is I'm just going to go ahead and turn all the instances of the Kramer, and you can hear that hiss. Hear that white noise, that hiss? And now it's gone. That's because I've got, this is the one of the characteristics, the preamp characteristic of this console. So I'm going to just play back this piece. I'm going to kind of toggle this on and off so you can hear what it does. And then we'll walk through each drum and I'll show you how I have kind of the settings. Keep in mind that some of the drums I've increased some of the top end, so it's going to get a little bit brighter. It's going to get a little fuller sounding. So here we go. I'll toggle this on and off. We'll start right here, and we will start with it in the off position. Before, after. Before, okay, so there we go. So that's the overall effect across the drums and across the bass. So if I were to mute the drums here, if we just took a look at the bass for a second and just kind of look at what we're kind of doing here to show you how this kind of works. So here is the instance on the bass. And again, you can hear all that tape hiss in the background. I'll actually shut off the instances on the drums to kind of keep that from being in the way audibly. There we go. So now all we have on is the instance on the bass, and when I shut it off, it goes away, the hiss. So I have it on the mic input, this is like kind of a direct bass plugged into a console, and I have it on the mic input as opposed to the line. That's the line input. It's the mic. You can hear the noise difference, and as I turn down this preamp, you can hear the noise go away. That's what I was talking about earlier. So let's play back this bass. So I got the preamp cranked all the way up. And I'm pushing the console about an extra 3 dB, and I turn down the output 3 dB to level match it. Okay, and it's 60 hertz down here at the bottom. You can see that I had this boosted. I actually turned it down. I boosted up about 4 dB. There's 15 dB. Okay, so all I'm doing here is I'm just turning up the preamp to 70 to give it as much color and some of that noise as possible. And I'm boosting up 60 hertz, about 7 dB. And here's before. After. And if I wanted to get rid of some of that noise, when I turn the toggle switch down, you hear the noise go away. And there it is again. It's before. Okay, so it really gives it that analog vibe, not just the noise, obviously, but it also just gives it that nice thickness. It's round. It kind of pulls the bass together a little bit. And again, there's no compression on this at all. This is just a simple EQ in the preamp. So that's on the bass. Now if we take a look at something like, let's say, the snare drum as an example, so you can kind of hear what it does on a snare. Okay, right now it's off. Let me turn this up a little so you can hear it better. Okay, so once again, I'm on the mic input and I'm pushing it pretty hard just to kind of over exaggerate it. Gets a little bit of a different tone characteristic from the mic to the line input. Okay, and here I'm at 4.5K. I'm boosting up at about 2 dB because here's the peak. So if I turn, I'm on the peak setting, which is boosting 4.5K. So if I just turn this. Before, after. Okay, so that's what it kind of sounds like on a snare. Not doing anything on the low end, just boosting up the mid-range, the 4.5K, about 4 dB. If we take a listen to this, let's say on a kick drum here, like on a kick. I'll turn this up a little so you can hear it. Okay, so here, it's 60 hertz. I'm boosting up about 2 dB. Okay, that's all I'm doing there. And then also at 4.5K to get a little bit of the click, about 8 dB. Again, I'm on the peak setting, 4.5. And then the preamp, I'm on the line, and I got it turned all the way down, but we can play with that. A little more color, put it up on mic. You can definitely hear a little bit of a distortion characteristic on the mic as opposed to the line, and that's the way a console would work. It's before. After. Now let's take a listen to it on the overheads quickly, and then we'll do the whole drums and bass again. And you get the idea of how this kind of sounds. So here on the overheads, we have one here. We got left and right, so we're just going to pin it, and we're going to turn them both on here. So you can kind of see both of these, and we will solo up just the overheads. Okay. That's before. After. Okay, so here again we're driving it on the mic side, and again we could get rid of some of that coloration. Okay, here at 10K, on our shelf, we're doing plus 4 dB here. And let's see, also we're cutting here no, we're not cutting anything. We're completely at 0 here. We're not using that. And then on the low end, we're not doing anything either. We're not cutting or boosting at all. So all we're doing is just putting a little bit of 4 dB at 10K on the shelf and using the preamp and driving the console a little bit. And this is what we have before. So it gives it a nice flavor to it. And again, I turn these up a little more to exaggerate it. Again, if we go back to just listening to the drum kit with the bass, you get the overall effect of what's kind of going on here. And let's turn on all of these to make sure they're all on. So we'll start with them off. We'll come over to the bass as well. So we'll start with them off and then we'll turn them back on and you can hear it one last time. This is before the channel strip, after. So it's a real simple plugin to use. It takes a little bit to wrap your head around the way the EQ is kind of laid out, but you can see it's simple, it's easy, it just adds a lot of nice color, adds a little bit of that analog vibe to it, and it just cleans things up and just makes things sound better. You just turn up some of the knobs. You can easily overdo it on this. It's pretty sensitive and pretty aggressive, so you want to be careful as you're boosting to make sure you don't go too far. But this is really cool, and again, this is Waves. This is the Kramer HLS channel strip, the Helios channel strip. Go out to waves.com and check them out. You can always find these plugins on sale several times during the year. And if you wait for the sale, you can pick this up at a really good price. I think I picked this up for $29 US, which for 29 bucks, you really can't beat it. So I hope you thought this video was helpful. I hope you enjoyed this look at the HLS by Waves. If you come back for the next video, we'll take a look at some other plugins by Waves and other plugin manufacturers. And once again, hit that subscribe button if you liked what you saw in this video, and always go out to homerecordingmadeeasy.com. Visit me there and check out all the free content that's there. And until the next video, this has been David with homerecordingmadeeasy.com, and I will speak to you guys all soon. Take care.